Hey, how's it going, guys? This is your boy Hazzed, and today we're going to be going over the two-handed Frost DK guide. The reason why we're making this is there's some of you that didn't like dual wield and stuff like that, didn't get used to it, didn't like how it came out, so we're going to go ahead and cover the 2H guide. Is it better than dual wield currently, guys? No, it's not. Dual wield's still the meta, but two-handed is still 2K plus viable if you did not know. So let's go over this, pull out this guide real quick for you guys, and let's do this. First off, of course, you gotta know what the hell you're even doing before you're even gonna kill somebody. For the 56 talent, you're not gonna go Plague Bearer. You're not gonna go Unholy Blight. You're gonna use Plague Leech. Just Plague Leech. Just Plague Leech. You need him for heals, guys. You need him for damage. You need him for quite a bit more than that. For the 57 talent, you're gonna go Lichborn. As we've always said, don't ever go Purgatory. If you go Purgatory, we're gonna laugh at you. We're gonna laugh at you. Alright, don't go Purgatory, guys. The anti-magic zone used to be okay. It took a bit of a nerf, and it's kind of shied away from for the most part. Unless you're doing threes up against a caster cleave, and you really know what you're doing, and you don't think you're going to get feared, yeah, it might be a good idea. Other than that, not really. As for the 58 talents, you're either going to go Chillblains or Asphyxiate. Asphyxiate more than likely with two-hander, because you are going to need that control to land a lot of your kills with two-hander, since it doesn't have quite the consistent damage that dual wield does. And as far as the level 60 talents go, you're either going to be using Blood Tap or Runic Corruption. Because of the recent buffs and nerfs that two-handed faced, it relies less on just spamming Obliterate and more on the full rotation, even when it comes to using a two-hander, I've noticed. So we're going to be switching that up to RC or Blood Tap if you want that extra control for Arena. Either or are going to work for this spec, since most of its damage is going to be 2 runes instead of 1. Now, with the level 75 heal talent, 2s and 3s death pact all the way. And of course, if you want a 1v1 solo, duel, things like that, Death Siphon's the way to go. It's still the strong suit, even for two-hander. Level 90 talent, you're probably going to go Desecrated Ground. It's the best one of the 3 by far. No idiots are going to get caught in Remorseless Winter. Just no one's that stupid in Arena when you get that high rated. And as far as the level 100 talent, you can either go Necrotic Plague is effective or Breath of Sindragosa. Now, Breath of Sindragosa is going to be more like a fun play talent since that giant nerf they pulled in there. And it really doesn't last as long as it used to. But it does okay damage if you can time it correctly. But it's really just, it's hard. It's hard to use correctly, guys, now. It really is, especially after they made it 15 more runic power. And they made it cap out at so long so you can't chase people across the map with it. So, yeah, definitely Necrotic Plague is going to be the more viable way to go with two-handed for the spec to give you a little bit more overall damage, not just straight obliterate damage or random burst damage. So that's going to be your talents. Let's check out some glyphs here. Now, of course, I have the 30% heal because I like to go out in PvP and double DPS and stuff like that. And you're also going to want the Dispel glyph. You always want Dispel, guys. You dispel the living crap out of somebody. No hots for them, no buffs for them, no nothing. And, of course, I'm going to be using the Runic Power gain for every slow. Because, of course, playing double DPS, I'm going to get slowed. They're going to try to peel me. Something's going to happen. And I want that extra Runic Power for healing or whatever the heck also. You can also use a few others like the Dark Sim Glyph, which is also pretty nice. And I think that's really about it. I don't know if any people are using the Anti-Magic Shell. I've kind of heard some people like it, but who knows? It could be your thing, but that's what I'm going to be rocking for that. And let's jump over to rotation, a few other things. Now let's recap on the 2H rotation real quick, guys. Everyone knows it. It's actually generally pretty simple compared to dual wield with a couple different changes. Of course, you're going to start out on the target. You want your obliterate procs. You want those procs. And you're just going to hit your obliterates. Get a Howling Blast proc. Decide whether or not you want to use it on a Dispel or a Howling Blast. Howling Blast for more damage, of course. The others for Dispel. And next up, use your Frost Strikes to get more runes, to use more obliterates. So basically, it's like a priority system, of course. Use your obliterates over just about everything unless you have a free proc in which you use that. Otherwise, you're basically hitting obliterate and Frost Strike. Now, if you have like 3 or more targets around you, it's safe to say you want to Howling Blast once, twice, maybe even 3 times to spread those dots. Because the more you use that Howling Blast, the more those necrotic plague stacks are actually going to go up with each of those targets that it's hitting, which is going to give you a lot more damage a lot faster, which is kind of nice, which is why we like dual wield for AoE pressure. It's one of the reasons. But anyways here, of course, that's just the simple rotation, guys. There's nothing too hard about 2H. When it comes to bursting with 2H, since we're using necrotic plague right now, you're basically going to get about full, and then you're going to blow basic burst cooldowns, which of course, we'll check out some different macros here. Where's my burst macros? Basically this one, which is like use pillar, use the other badge, and of course if you have toys, potions, trinkets, other things like that, throw them in there. Now you're going to want to be fighting the target. What you're going to wait for before you want to line up like a good burst is of course either burst trinkets, you obliterate procs, things like that, because it's all going to enhance your damage in the end. And of course, you want to try to, if you're not using the grip for mechanics, you can also use it as the opening cooldown blower for this obliterate right here. So like, boom, blows 3 CDs, throwing that grip, big obliterates. And that's going to be your main CD obliterate. And then you're going to, of course, go by the stat priority, use empowered rune weapon if you want to use that for burst and not heals, somewhere in there, hopefully with an oblit crit like that, to throw in just an extra monster amount of damage. And of course, go back to the normal priority with 2H. And that's going to be your basic damage. Now, when it comes to healing with two-hander, it's basically the same as dual wield. Nothing really changes. It basically Death Siphon and Death Strikes. Now, the cool thing about 2H is when you're in Blood Presence, your rotation doesn't really change. And you can actually put out more offensive pressure with a 2H than you can dual wield if you have to go Blood Presence. And that's why I advise a lot of newer players to play this spec over dual wield to learn Death Knight class before they switch over to dual wield. Because dual wield, I will admit, has a harder rotation. It's harder to play people as dual wield. Definitely harder to 1v1 some classes as dual wield. I will have to admit. And people tend to like to stick to Blood Presence and the Asphyxiate for 1v1 duels and BGs like that. So that's why people tend to do that. Now, is 2H better for double DPS at the moment? That's questionable, guys. I mean, either way, if you can survive well enough as dual wield, it's going to be better because of the damage. But 2H will let you sit Blood Presence a lot longer. Like, if you're going to play DK Feral Comp, and you're basically the 1v1er of the other class, or even if it's a healer or, things like that, it may actually help you if you're slower with your switches and rotations and stuff like that. And of course, talk about presences. When do you want to use this? If you're going aggressive, you're not taking any damage, you always want to be in Frost Presence. Otherwise, if you're taking a lot of damage and people are smashing your face in, you're going to D up with that Blood Press, guys. And of course, the last healing thing that we didn't talk about is going to be Lichborn, which is going to give you that leech. Guys, you want that leech. That leech is amazing. That leech is amazing, especially when you're bursting. That's a lot of damage. Plus, when you stack that leech onto a Death Siphon, which is more damage plus healing, it's going to give you even more. So that's great, guys. Now, for stat priorities with the two-hander, what should you guys be rocking? Basically, what you guys are going to be rocking is stacking versatility for that 2H, definitely, because you're going to want that enhanced obliterate damage, that high. And, of course, you're going to want to use Haze second. Then we're going to toss in Mastery. And then we're going to toss in Multi-Strike. And then we're going to toss in Crit. And that's going to be the way it is, guys. That's going to be just about it, I think, for this video. We talked about burst healing. We talked about just about everything when it comes down to it. But that's going to be it, guys, for the 2H guide. And until next time.